My name is Isabella. I am 38 years old, and I am the CEO of one of the most important technological companies in the country. This is the story of how my sister-in-law tried to ruin my life, and it ended up destroying hers. It all started 6 months ago. I was in the middle of an important business merger that required all my attention. My husband, Carlos, and I had decided to keep my position private. Only his family knew that I worked in technology. This pressure allowed me to evaluate people for who they were, not really for what they could get. My sister-in-law, Laura, had always been problematic since I married 10 years ago. Carlos treated me with barely concealed disdain. Again, working late, he said in the family gatherings. A real wife should be more present in the home. I ignored his comments for years, mainly because we saw her little. But everything changed when she met Miguel, a sales executive from my company. Of course, she didn't know it was my company. I'm going to get married, Laura announced during a family dinner, and it will be the most spectacular wedding you have ever seen. Congratulations, I said sincerely. Miguel seems like a good man. Laura threw me a condescending look. Of course, he is. Not all of us have to settle, she said. Carlos squeezed my hand under the table, but I remained calm. After all, I signed the checks for his future husband. The following weeks were a whirlwind of wedding plans, each more extravagant than the last. Laura wanted a ceremony in a European castle, designer dresses, and a guest list of more than 500 people. How are they going to pay for all this? Carlos asked during another family dinner. Oh, Miguel wins very well, Laura responded with an air of sufficiency. He works in an important company. Not everyone has to live modestly. I held back a smile. Miguel was a good salesman, but he didn't even earn close to what Laura imagined. One day, while on an international video conference, I received an urgent call from my bank. Mrs. Isabella, said the manager, we need to verify a transaction. Someone is trying to process the sale of your home. What? There must be an error. The documents appear to be in order, signed by your husband. Do not process anything until I arrive, I interrupted. Finishing the call, I drove to the bank immediately. In the lobby, I came face to face with Laura and a real estate agent. What are you doing here? I asked. Laura turned pale. I should ask you why you are trying to sell my house. Laura got angry, regaining her arrogance. Carlos signed the papers as your husband. Carlos has the right. I interrupted, or did you forge his signature like you did with those checks for the university? Laura was speechless. How do you know? I know many things, Laura. For example, I know that Miguel doesn't earn even half of what you've told your family. That is impossible. He is an executive. He's a sales executive, I corrected. A good employee, but he doesn't earn enough for the wedding you are planning. I know because I am the one who approves his salary. Laura laughed nervously. What do you mean? I am the CEO of Future Technologies, I said simply, the company where you work. Your modest sister-in-law, who works in technology, is actually the boss of your fiancé. The real estate agent, who had been watching the exchange with increasing discomfort, picked up his papers. I think there has been a misunderstanding. I'm leaving. Laura staggered, looking for support in a chair. No, it can't be. Oh, but it is, and now you're going to explain to me exactly what is happening here. Where is Carlos? He doesn't know, Laura admitted. I needed the money for the wedding. I thought I could sell the house and replace it before they realized. Replace it with what? Money? With Miguel's money? I thought at that moment my phone rang. It was Miguel. We should tell your fiancé about your little plan, I asked, showing him the phone. Laura became as pale as a paper. Please, no. But it was too late. What happened next would change everyone's lives. I always answered Miguel's call, while Laura looked at me in terror. Mrs. Isabella, said Miguel, I need to talk to you about something sensitive. Coincidence, I responded, keeping my voice professional. I'm here with your fiancé. Why don't you come to the bank? I think we have a lot to discuss. Half an hour later, Miguel arrived at the bank, looking confused. His expression changed to shock when he saw Laura crying in a corner. What's going on? He asked. Sit down, Miguel, I said. Your fiancé has something to confess. Laura jumped up. No. Isabella, please, can we fix this as a family? Fix what? Miguel asked. Your fiancé tried to sell my house, I explained, with falsified documents. Miguel's jaw dropped. Laura, what did you do? What did I do? Laura screamed. For us. For our perfect wedding. You don't earn enough, and we needed the money. Wait, Miguel interrupted. You mean I don't earn enough? I showed him my account statements. Laura wrung her hands and shook her head. In Photoshop, I wanted to impress my family. You altered my documents. Miguel's voice trembled with fear and anger. And now you tried to steal from my boss. Your boss? Laura turned to me. He knew. Who were you? Of course, I knew. My entire executive team responded, you know, the only reason I kept my position private with your family was to avoid exactly this type of situation. At that moment, Carlos entered, running to the bank. Isabella, what is happening? He stopped dead when he saw the scene, his brother crying, Miguel furious, and me holding the falsified documents. Laura said slowly, what, you have done it? I did it for love, Laura shouted. Miguel deserved a wedding worthy of his position. My position? Interrupted Miguel. Laura, I am a sales executive. I earn well but not enough for a wedding of $500,000. But you told everyone. You told them, ran Miguel. You were the one who started bragging about castles and extravagant parties. I never promised anything like that, Carlos said, examining the documents. This is not my signature, Laura. You forged my signature. I am not the first, I said softly. True, Laura said, collapsing into a chair. How did you know? I'm CEO for a reason, I responded. I do my research. When you started dating one of my executives, I investigated your past. I found university records, forged checks, and hidden debts. Miguel asked, what debts? I took another folder out of my briefcase. Laura has 3 credit cards maxed out, a personal loan without paying, and owes 6 months rent on her apartment. But you said you were the owner of your apartment, said Miguel, looking at Laura in disbelief. Well, I continued, she lied about her job. She's not a marketing manager, she's an assistant administrative. Laura stood up suddenly. Shut up. You have no right to ruin my life. I ruined your life? I asked calmly. You tried to steal my house. You forged your brother's signature. You've been living a lie, dragging Miguel into it. Laura pleaded, Miguel, we can explain it. But Miguel was already getting something out of his pocket, the engagement ring. He placed it on the table. I can't marry someone I can't trust, he said. No, Laura. No, Miguel said. Can you do this to me? I already sent the invitations. People know I'm going to marry an executive. Correction, I said. You are going to marry an important executive because, Miguel, I regret to inform you that after this, we will need to discuss your position in the company. Laura's face transformed with fury, and she shouted, rushing at me. You ruined everything. Carlos stopped her just in time. Laura, stop. Let me go, she screamed, struggling. Isabella has always wanted to destroy me. Always showing off his money, his success. I never boasted, I answered. You were the one who created the fantasy about my life. And now, you've committed several serious crimes in your attempt to maintain your own lies. Laura stopped struggling, with the weight of her actions finally falling on her. What is going to happen now? She asked in a low voice, picking up her documents. It will depend on the next decisions you make, I replied. But what happened then would even surpass my worst expectations. The next morning, I arrived early to the office to handle the disaster that Laura had caused. But she was ahead of me. Ma'am, Isabella, my assistant said nervously, there are reporters in the lobby. They're saying that they have a story about corporate corruption and nepotism. I turned on the local news, and there was Laura, pretending to cry in front of the cameras. My sister-in-law used her position to destroy my commitment, she sobbed. I hired my fiancé to spy on me, and when I tried to expose their corrupt practices, she threatened to destroy us. My phone started ringing, the board of directors, shareholders, and journalists calling for an emergency meeting. I told my assistant, call Miguel. But Miguel was already in. He walked to my office, pale and upset. Isabella, I'm so sorry, he said as he entered. Laura called me last night, threatening to make up a story about harassment if I didn't support her. She told me she would destroy you. Have that conversation recorded? Yes, I recorded everything. After what happened on the bench, I smiled excellently. Now, I need you to tell me exactly what more Laura told you about her plans. While Miguel spoke, my legal team was already in action. What Laura did not know was that I had anticipated something. So, the emergency meeting began. An hour later, the board of directors was worried about the media scandal. Gentlemen, I said calmly, everything is low control. I projected a series on the screen, document fraud attempts, her debts, the recorded threats, and something else she never expected. Ago, 3 months, when Laura started dating Miguel, she tried to illegally access our corporate servers. We have records of multiple attempts from her personal computer. The board remained silent, and I continued. I have this. I played a security video of the bench showing Laura trying to process falsified documents. At that moment, my assistant came in running. Lady, gotta see this on the news, she said. Laura was giving another interview, but this time it was interrupted live by the police. Laura Martinez, said an officer, is under arrest for fraud, attempted extortion, and cybercrime. You can't arrest me, she shouted, as Isabella is handcuffed behind her. The transmission cut off. I turned towards the board. As you can see, the situation is handled. Our corporate security detected and documented all her attempts. Achaean Bank has evidence of her attempts to commit fraud, and now we have recordings of her attempts to extort board members. They nodded approvingly. At a question, the president further said, what about the employee involved, Miguel? Miguel has demonstrated exemplary integrity, I responded. In fact, I recommend his promotion to the Corporate Ethics Committee. His handling of this situation demonstrates exactly the kind of values that we need. That afternoon, while police searched the apartment, Laura's more detailed plans were found, corporate emails, conspiracies with other employees, discontents, and a list of companies' competitors to whom she planned to sell confidential information. Carlos was devastated. I can't believe my own sister, he said. It's not your fault, I told him, hugging him. Laura chose her path. The trial was quick. With all the evidence, Laura had no choice but to plead guilty. She was sentenced to 5 years in prison and ordered to pay restitution for all damages caused. 1 year later, our company is stronger than ever. The scandal ironically demonstrated the solidity of our safety and ethics systems. Corporate Miguel now leads our regulatory compliance department, using his experience to prevent similar situations. Carlos finally healed his relationship with his parents, who initially blamed everyone except for Laura. Seeing the evidence in the trial opened their eyes to the truth about their daughter. Last week, I received a letter from Laura from prison. I did not open it. Some people never change, and others never learn. How I learned SEO, a valuable lesson in transparency and integrity. Always wins in the end. As a person, I learned that sometimes the people closest to you are those who can hurt you the most. But also, the truth always comes to light. My house, by the way, now has the best system in the neighborhood for security and document signing. Carlos and I implemented a double authentication system with our bank. Some lessons you only need to learn once. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and share your own stories in the comments. Remember, success attracts envy, but integrity builds legacies. See you in the next video.